Most shocking thing about Long Horse is just the fact that the mouths are clearly fused to the next segment of the body on each piece. You're like,
That's not my intention. Aeria went ham.
Aeria did a lot.
Very proud of him. He's been coming up with a lot of fun stuff.
His art has an area of effect. Venus.
Everybody's favorite.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I'm here to investigate the alleged cock.
The alleged cock. What a phrase.
Cockness monster.
No! Damn it,
Don't
that's
give
going
Ka
fat now.
Yeah, that'll don't give Ka ideas.
Yeah, oh god.
It's gonna end up in this campaign.
I saw a sticker on the back of someone's truck today that said only Rams. Like, obviously has to be a sports thing, but I was just like, oh, that sounds like a porn site in the furry universe for sure, though.
They know not who they invite.
Right?
They don't know what vampire they're letting in. They're inviting in with that sticker.
Exactly.
Now, one of my favorite genres is straight people that know not what they wrought.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The Subway, how do you like to top your subs tweet?
Freaking
They had to. They
Toaster just sent me
They knew what they were doing with that one, though. They had, like, there's no way.
Yeah. Toaster just sent me a Castlevania. I don't know if you said that in chat earlier because he was with you guys, but Castlevania 64 ad that says whip crack and some bone smack and werewolf jackin and undead whack, and you're like,
I don't even like. I don't know how that didn't come off as weird then.
I don't know.
There's
Sometimes straight
infamous-
people just never think about it, but also sometimes the gay people get away with it. You don't know which one it is.
There's one of those like Mega Man Battle Network games with that infamous screenshot of I'll jack into your squirrel if that's what it takes, and it's like what? I don't even. I've never played those games, so I don't understand what the context is either. But like,
Everything has a USB port basically.
right,
Connects directly to the internet.
I figured it was something like that. I'm just like, oh my god.
So I gotta come up with a different verb.
Yeah.
You wouldn't jack into a squirrel. Some stuff does get oddly outdated. I just think about like everyone losing their entire shit reading like, what is it, Tom Sawyer, I think, where one of the characters looks another character square in the eye and said, "I could lick you," and you're like, what?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's stuff that like didn't didn't have the same innuendo back then.
There's ethos there.
Once like that, you're just like, damn, me and who?
It's like the Joker's greatest boner or whatever.
Yeah.
my boner.
Are you talking about the Castlevania thing I just shared to you, Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that exists because like it's like hard for me to understand because I just can't fathom what werewolf jackin is supposed to mean other than how it sounds.
I know.
The other thing
What are
is,
you doing to
like,
them
use them as a
otherwise?
car?
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't get it. Also,
Gonna steal them.
there aren't really werewolves in that game. The only werewolf is a playable character in the second game that hadn't come out at the time of that advertisement.
They're just
Will you jack?
well.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
ads
false
back then
advertisement.
were made by the people that worked on the game or even had played it half the time.
No, certainly
So like
not.
increasingly back then, video games ads like didn't seem to know what the game was they were advertising.
Yeah.
We're talking
look
about
this to me
werewolf
as
jackin
well?
just for context.
Oh yeah. I should have
Just put it in chat, I guess.
Give me a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, I need to see this because I have no idea. I
It's a
tried to
lot.
Google search and came up short, so I have no idea.
Try to Google search werewolf jackin.
Yeah,
I found
Castlevania werewolf jacking is in my search history now.
Actually, I need something clarified. Did Ka not know the poker hands, or did Madoska not know the poker hands?
God did not know the poker.
Oh no!
Oh no! I've never played poker in my life.
Hell yeah, that's funny.
That's delightful.
That's adorable.
I don't know.
There's so much writing on that.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Thank
I
you
don't
for
really know
this
poker hands.
lovely bit of information.
Hell yeah.
Great job.
Got
Thank
potato,
you.
like Lynn's got potato just on his mouth, like, oh, okay.
What'd you say?
Foot potato.
My pinkies are tingling. I'm so amped up from that. Wow.
Everyone give it up. Everyone give it up for Toaster.
Thank you. That was I had prepared the outline of that speech and I've been waiting to give it, but that was mostly off the dome. There was no narration that was written out there. That was just me improvising the actual way he would say that. That was
like almost 15 minutes, so very good job.
Thank you. Oh my god. I can't believe it was that long. I hope everyone liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have pretty much everything of Beck out on the table, and everyone is privy to it.
Yep.
I didn't want to interrupt you in that speech too, because Nico would definitely have.
You were in a flow.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, Nico would definitely have some commentary on cages specifically, because he's very invested in the idea of the Victorian obsession with fish tanks and also terrariums.
Yeah.
And the idea of trying to put things in a box. And those who are boxed observing boxes.
Yeah, Beck, this is where we get to the sort of the secret core of my character. The sort of thing that has motivated a lot of the things that I've written and a lot of the ways that I've played Beck is that a thief, in a way, is like a crooked liberator. Beck is an outlaw. He is a murderer. And he has been shaped by the world, and there is no atonement for Beck in his future. He is a very bad person who has done very bad things, but he's bad because he tried to do good, and the world said no. And so he changed his own shape to resemble the world. And it wasn't out of a feeling of wanting to, like, thinking this is the way things should be. It was because this is the way things are. And Beck is at his heart, like, he's a robber. He's someone who pilfers and steals and ravages. But in that, there is the power of reclamation and strength and justice, just as much as there is wealth and glory and all of those other reasons why someone might commit a bunch of crimes across the West. You know, the legend of the outlaw that Kit talked about in the first episode, of this idea of like, oh, he's a legendary outlaw. He's like roaming through the West. Like, how romantic. Like, that romance really was real in a way. Like, yes, outlaws were bad.
Pirates.
Yeah, exactly. Like, outlaws are bad people, but they also are free. They reject the system that vilifies them. They reject the world as it is, and in a way are sort of like almost like a virus that attacks these institutions. And so Beck, his whole life has lived this way of like, okay, my mother had her freedom stolen from her. My father may be responsible for that, and even he is still held down in chains. So he escapes, and he just finds himself chained to the rail, chained to the law, chained to crime. He finds his way to this group of outlaws that has it pretty good, and suddenly he lives on this commune in the plains where people are just like living their lives and doing what they want and not being concerned with these greater systems. And just when he starts getting comfortable, when that path began to open for him of this idea of a future where maybe he didn't need to only take, it was taken from him. And so that drives him from death to exact revenge and justice. If not for the people that perished in that fire, for the person that he could have been. And I think that idea of like this thief character, this sort of dangerous criminal underbelly type archetype coming back to, for one last score, right? For that one last job that sets everything right. If not repairing what damage was done, at least returning something back to the world that was taken from it is really the core of his character and what offsets him from all of the hunger that he feels constantly. And in a way, that hunger, that curse, this revenge, all of these horrible things that he's doing are contrasting his initial intention, which was make this fucker pay so I can die in peace.
Handshake emoji, hating the abstract concept of confinement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Beck's character. That's where he comes from. And it has been a pleasure to play him so far. And honestly, this session was really fun for me because I was rolling so poorly. And I know I seemed frustrated in it, but it's like, I think it's a really good like Ludo narrative of like, Beck is tired. It's been 20 years of this, like he
It'd be
does.
boring if we were succeeding all the time. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So Toaster, what's cool? So Nico doesn't hate the idea of boxes or confinement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nico hates the idea of unnatural boxes.
Sure, yeah.
But quite loves boxes as structural reflections of nature.
Sure, yeah.
So I think what's kind of cool is that like Beck is very thoughtful about human mechanizations and structures of society and sociological evils, right? And Nico is concerned with the things that don't think, the things that don't feel, the things that just happen.
Yep.
And creating a utopia still would not address that.
Certainly, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think that
so
there's
I think that's a cool kind of foil.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that there's something really interesting here, and this is something that's kind of baked into the setting. It's come up a few times, but like this idea that maybe there's something even below the other side. Maybe there's something below that. Maybe there's something above us. Maybe there's something above that. Like this is just an endless chain, a wheel that turns, and constantly we're being hit with this idea that the moment that we understand how things are going, there's a bigger fish on both ends, right? It's like, okay, maybe there is a natural order to things, but maybe there's a natural order to that natural order, and there's something larger and larger and more confining as you go that way. But then equally, in equal measure, there's also people that are putting you in cages, and there are bigger boxes around those cages, and there's bigger institutions around those boxes. And like, no matter which way you go from chaos to order, it's always just going to fractal into bigger and bigger and more abstract and quintessential, harder to identify, boxes, for lack of a better word, right? And I think that it's interesting. Yeah, very much Tesseract or style, right? Like, I think of like a Dyson sphere, like this idea of like a mega structure.
Like the vacuum?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Dyson spheres are, you know what a Dyson sphere is, right?
I do.
Sorry.
I know the name.
I was a Halo fan.
It's the idea of like where you make a mega structure around a star and you harness its energy.
Yeah. And it's the idea of like a sort of self-running, theoretically infinite power concept that can kind of infinitely expand on itself using the energy it generates. And this idea that like, no matter how far you walk, no matter how long you go, there's always going to be more mega structure around you. You're never going to see the end. And sort of, in a way, Beck is a character that wishes for infinite freedom, but infinity is its own cage.
I think that also what's like also like the counter action to order, which you said it is chaos, like entropy. Like we still don't really understand how black holes work, right?
Yep.
Like a Dyson sphere eventually could collapse and become something like a black hole, which would ruin the entire
Dyson
structure. Just a hole, sir. And I think what's really interesting is that, like, no matter how many things we plan and how many natural structures that do come up, there's always like counter actions that are constantly deconstructing the constructions. And it's like this sort of never-ending cycle of like not just order and chaos, but like life and decay.
Yeah.
And this idea that everything that is even naturally built has impossible to account for things that just completely just rearrange and restructure.
Yeah.
In ways that we just don't understand yet, like just the expansion of the universe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and then fantasy, right, which we're in, would have different laws of physics that we clearly don't understand.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, is like this idea that our characters have these things that they're fighting against and that they're self-motivated by, is like this idea of like Beck is doing this because he thinks Kettle, the red-eyed vulture, poses like an existential threat. But he's not doing it to save the world. He's not doing it to help people. He's doing it because like in like almost an arrogant way, like the principle of it is wrong to him. And for that principle, for that thing, that person to still exist in flagrant opposition to what Beck stands for is in a way an invalidation of like Beck's personhood, like what he wishes to be on like an idealistic level. So it's like, it's been interesting to play this character that represents this entropy, this like damage that is done, that's this constant gnawing on our reality, that at the same time is like Beck is like a very bad person. There's absolutely no redeeming him in the sense, like just because he's killing a bad guy who did bad things, like doesn't mean that he's a hero. He's not even an anti-hero. He's just the wrong person in the right place at the right time. And I think that's an interesting space to play in, and especially play off the rest of the cast, because everyone here has their own damage and their own baggage and the things that we're bringing into this campaign and the way that we're playing them. But Beck is motivated entirely by a very selfish need for revenge that just so happens is targeted at someone that maybe threatens a lot of people, but it's not saving them or doing something good or like atoning that he's doing this for. It's truly the idea of like a debt incurred, a debt settled, and that's it. And I think that disconnect is like one of the really core aspects to his character that contrasts him from everyone else in the group.
I mean, the additional advances helps too.
The additional advances are very nice when I roll real good, which I haven't been doing.
I was going to say, like, we now know what Chance can do, and that's going to be a conversation while we're on the friend train.
Yeah.
We need to get booty slapped by Chance's yassified dice.
What the fuck just came out of your mouth?
That's a brand new sentence.
You need to grab a glass of water because you sound thirsty.
None of those words were in the Bible.
That's a fight in the Bible. Look it up.
Control F.
I think
Chat just said, I think people who try to act hard and callous are actually a bit more tender than they want to believe. Beck has shot multiple people on a whim,
Well,
sometimes without looking at them.
Conrad has too.
He tends to miss when he doesn't look at them, though, which is funny to me.
It is funny. It's a really funny character trait to have the best shooting die in the group, but I consistently fail on all of my shots.
Wait, what do you have?
Conrad has put down every person
10 or
he
12,
has shot.
I think. Check.
I think Conrad has
Yeah, you
killed
should be
with
hitting
every
those shots.
bullet.
Yes.
Fucked
One
up.
bullet, one kill.
My shooting is a 10. I've been rolling really poorly.
Conrad's a military man because he's really efficient.
No, but he's sort of not though. So his whole thing was that he was a land surveyor, who was really good at math.
So you're a bureaucrat.
And what happened was, and this is actually going back into real history of the time, but some places out west that didn't have telegraphs yet set up a series of things called heliograph towers, which was this absurd system of they were tools made out of like land surveying tools, like adapted mirrors and telescopes, where you would try to like communicate long distances via like a visual Morse code. Basically, you would flash lights at distant towers.
Was this the Gondor calls for aid shit?
Yeah, and so I sort of wrote that into his character so that he just he wanted to get out of where he was, and he just saw an opportunity for work that was basically just like an evolution of like stuff that he was kind of sort of doing. It was like, oh, the land surveyors are good at operating these things or whatever.
Why does a land surveyor have a gun?
Well, okay, but
protect government property.
But the heliograph towers were built by the government to set up communication towers out west.
Okay.
So yeah, he sort of got like roped in. He was like he's a contracted employee, I guess. Yeah, he's not exactly a military man, but
I think Argo sees the horrible vulture creature with infinite mouths and infinite hunger, and that will never stop, and sees Beck and says they're the same picture.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that for sure.
The bird reminded me a little bit of the Skeksis, at least how you were speaking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A certain scene with the Skeksis where they're all eating.
The what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
Oh,
We just fought a scene from my favorite movie as a boss. I just had the sad image of like the moment we killed the vulture on the opposite side of the other side, off in like the sloth dimension. Some sad camel man just vanished in a burst of light.
Oh, by the way, I thought it was really funny that we had a sandals moment earlier. I don't know if anyone when you talked about
Just
him revealing when you were talking about how his bag had a lot more pockets on it, like a bunch of pockets on it, I was like,
yeah.
Great.
Like a backpack, like characters being a little bit too utilitarian is like one of my favorite little design tropes of like, oh, they're wearing cargo shorts that have 4 cargo pockets on them instead of just 2. That's awkward. Like, I love that. I just think it's flavorful and fun. So
I don't know how your prior character acted, but I get the impression, like from all the fan art that I see, that he's like
it's got a huge dick.
A manic asshole.
Sandals Bueller is an extremely waspy.
I got BRB, sorry.
Straight white, as far as furry is concerned, male who is really into ARGs and like internet creepypasta and cares too much about Slenderman.
Incredible.
And
that's funny.
He's like he is sort of the opposite of Beck in that he desperately wants to save the world, like for the good of people. It's just that the way that he goes about it is like so opposite to the way that most people would believe is like functional in polite society.
So I just realized now with that, because I mean I already knew that about the character, of course, but like that makes me. What's that movement called that all the weird AI bros are into? Right, there's that whole philosophy of like, oh, if we can future proof, like, you know, we'll avoid like a future horrible hypothetical genocide. Like they have these insane beliefs that like.
Oh, you're talking about Rocco's Basilisk.
Rocco's Basilisk. Yeah,
that's what you're talking about.
Very much. That is 100%.
Oh my god, that fucking sucks. I hate Sandals.
Just wait. And it's like it's really fun to play him because he is a character that I've talked to Ka about him, and I'm like, he's like a character burdened by empathy in that instead of like taking the lessons that people should learn about empathy and being like, this makes me feel bad, so I will just try to make this person feel better. He's like, he sees a sad person and is like, oh no, there is injustice in the world. We must crusade against this injustice.
Oh, God.
But like in like the worst way.
Miserable on Twitter.
He would be awful if he knew how to use a computer, but he grew up only watching PBS because his parents are poor
Good,
and
don't let him on the
don't have
internet.
TV.
Put him on the internet.
I mean, he
Yeah.
has a YouTube account.
Oh, I'm back.
He does have a YouTube account, but that's the thing is that he only knows like ARGs and Web 1.0 and stuff. So
I kind of want to play a character who asks everything as a statement, like it's a question.
The exact
So
term.
you want to play an Australian?
But I feel like it would be really annoying, and everyone would hate me.
Number
The exact
one,
term I was thinking of was called effective altruism, and it
Yes.
totally sucks ass. Look it up.
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
look it up. It totally fucking sucks. Yeah, it's like Elon
Sounds
Musk.
terrible.
philosophy. It's what
Yes.
shit that it's very Musk-esque philosophy
Well-
where it's like I'm a horrible dog shit person right now, but like going to pretend like I'm making the future a better place, so it's all pays off, right?
Yeah. He's based off of the character played by Topher Grace in that season of Black Mirror, of like the guy who like created Twitter, but Twitter is bees or whatever. That's a really good description of that, by the way.
Twitter is peace.
It's like literally what it is.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Bye, everyone. We're gonna end the stream.
Yep.
It was
Everyone
nice
stay
playing.
EP.
Thanks for watching.
See you next week.
Is there
Y'all.
anything we want to plug? Is there? Oh, Keith just put up a short story on the
Yeah.
Patreon.
I did. I wrote an
And-
Argo prequel again, another one.
If you want to read more about horrific relations with Americans and natives, and also light poisoning, read the Smoke Room Cliff Route.
That's a good one. I'm sure our entire audience has already read it because they keep asking us to read it.
Oh, and our beloved artist, Aeria Quies, has a Twitter now. I don't know if we can link it because it's very NSFW, but look for it if you like that thing.
If you look at the Gnollplaying's account, you can find tweets from Aeria, and then you can go from there if you are of penis age.
Please be of penis age.
if you draw fan art, it doesn't matter what you draw. Just at us on Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever. Just make sure that we see it. Don't be shy about it. Let us know, and we'll put it in the after show. What else is there to?
When I see
plug?
fan art that no one knew existed for days or weeks, I'm mortified.
Yeah, make sure to tag the appropriate channels.
Yes.
It makes all of us happy.
It does.
Yeah.
Horrorbuns is writing a story that will go up on the Patreon at some point. No
Soon.
rush. Soon. There
It'd
you
be
go.
a Lynn
soon.
prequel.
I
Soon,
wrote another
TM.
story that will go up after the game is done. So I wrote a little epilogue for parts of the setting that will go live. It's very short, but
Less soon, TM.
yes, less soon. Illusory, do you have anything you want to plug?
No, not really, I guess.
All right, cool.
To hold myself to it, I had some Conrad backstory in mind, so that hasn't materialized yet, but I've thought a lot about the premise, so that should be
Hell
on the
yeah.
Patreon at some point eventually.
Cool.
Yeah, the first Argo
yeah.
story is before Southpaw, and the second Argo story is going from him arriving in Southpaw pretty much to literally the moment he first appeared in this game, quoting the words that Ka said exactly.
Mhm.
I don't think I can really write a story about Nicodemus because not only was his life wasn't super remarkable in terms of dynamic things that happened, but there's
Cool.
there is a very important thing that happened in his life that I will probably reveal like in the game itself, as opposed to
Ooh.
the backstory that I had talked to Ka about. So, and it will probably be if we ever get to the realm of despair, we'll be there.
Very cool.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Gnollplayinggames, and there will be lots of cool content for you if you like the story that we're telling. We put a lot of work into it, and we hope you all enjoy it because it's a lot of fun to write, but it's also a lot of fun to show to all of you. So,
It's how we get the
yeah.
artist to do all the art.
yep,
Yeah,
we gotta pay them
Yeah.
somehow. All right,
If you want
folks.
more terrifying looking horses, subscribe to the Patreon.
What a way to end the stream for the night. Now no one is going to subscribe. Great.
Please,
All right,
Aeria is
well,
locked in Kaz's basement
need
and
a
it can only
horse
eat
and a-
Patreon money or he starves.
We need another horse and a donkey, so 2 more.
Great. All right.
In the
We will
arms
catch
of
you
an angel.
next week. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you all later. Peace out.
Thanks,
folks.
everyone.
See you.
Jesus Christ.
Sarah McLachlan on mic just singing for a fucking bee horse.
That was a really
Sarah
good
McLachlan's
session.
fucking sloshed.
For
Yeah,
fucking
okay.
$3 a month, you can get bee horse back to its hive.